Today I'm going to try and get Chat GPT to write an emotional, character-driven Doctor Strange story. First, I asked for 20 ideas for an emotional story, then I asked for a few chapters to be rewritten. Combined everything together, and here it is. Please give it a shot and try to watch the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think the AI did a good job.
In the realm of mystical energies and parallel dimensions, Doctor Strange ventured into an alternate universe renowned for its advanced healing techniques. Drawn by the possibility of finding a solution to the darkness that plagues his fellow counterparts across the multiverse, he embarked on a treacherous journey. As he stepped through the ethereal portal, he found himself in a world both familiar and yet unsettlingly different. The alternate universe was a kaleidoscope of vibrant hues and breathtaking landscapes. Strange marveled at the majesty of this foreign land, eager to uncover its secrets. Guided by his instincts, Doctor Strange navigated through enchanted forests and traversed treacherous mountain ranges. He finally reached a secluded sanctuary, a place where the clone of Christine Palmer resided. As he entered, he beheld a solemn figure, another Doctor Strange, one who had succeeded in cloning Christine. The alternate Strange, wearing an enigmatic smile, welcomed his counterpart. With a voice resonating with wisdom and experience, he revealed the purpose behind his creation of the Christine clone. He explained that the demise of their shared love was the catalyst that pushed many versions of Doctor Strange towards darkness, their souls tainted by grief and loss.
I sought to bring her back, to rewrite the tragedy that consumed our lives.
The alternate Strange confessed, his eyes heavy with sorrow.
But my attempts to resurrect her failed. In my desperation, I resorted to creating a clone, hoping it would bring solace not just to me but to countless Stranges across the multiverse.
As they stood before the ethereal clone of Christine, Doctor Strange felt a bittersweet pang in his heart. The clone possessed the same physical attributes as Christine, but she lacked the memories, the experiences, and the essence that made her the love of his life. She was an empty vessel, a reflection without a soul. The alternate Strange revealed the dark price he had paid for his experiment. The clone required a living host to tether their life essence to her fragile form. It was a sacrifice he had willingly made, binding himself to the clone to ensure her survival. If the clone perished, so would he. But now, with the arrival of Doctor Strange from another universe, he had found a chance for freedom. With a wave of his hands and a whispered incantation, the alternate Strange cast a spell, switching places with the new Doctor Strange. The tether of life was transferred, binding the other Strange to the clone Christine. As the spell took effect, the alternate Strange vanished into a swirling portal, leaving his counterpart to face the consequences of their choices. As the dust settled and the world regained its balance, Doctor Strange found himself gazing into the eyes of the clone, this pale reflection of his former love. Confusion and longing filled his soul. The clone, eerily resembling Christine, was not without her own distressing circumstances. Bound by a mystical bangle on their arms, their fates intertwined. Should one of them perish, the other would suffer the same fate. It was a cruel and unbreakable tether, a constant reminder of the consequences of their entanglement. Desperate to escape this reality, Doctor Strange resolved to leave, seeking solace in a distant realm where memories of Christine were not a constant torment. As he began casting the spell of departure, Christine's voice reverberated through the air, filled with pain and desperation.
"Stop,"
she cried out, her plea tearing through the Sorcerer Supreme's heart.
"I am alive."
Startled by her words, Doctor Strange halted his incantation, his eyes locking with the clone's. He hesitated, uncertain of what this revelation meant. The clone, though not the true Christine, possessed a shred of life, linked to him through the cloning spell. She needed him to survive, and he realized that her existence was inexplicably entwined with his own. Doctor Strange's mind whirled with a surge of trepidation. The consequences of traversing into another universe had always been shrouded in uncertainty, and the precarious link between him and Christine intensified his concern. Could the act of entering another reality be the catalyst for their demise? Would the fragile bond that tied them together be severed, leaving them both lifeless husks? The weight of the unknown pressed heavily upon his shoulders, a tumultuous storm of doubt and fear that threatened to engulf him. In a fit of anger and frustration, Doctor Strange confronted the clone.
You may be alive,
he snapped, his voice tinged with bitterness.
but you are not real. I can't believe I am being held here by you.
Yet, as his words echoed in the air, doubt and confusion danced in his eyes. The clone, gazing back at him, her face a mirror of his own pain, remained silent, leaving the weight of their circumstances to settle between them. Doctor Strange decided to look around. They found themselves in a desolate corner of a mysterious realm, the air tinged with a sense of foreboding. Dark, towering trees stretched their gnarled branches overhead, casting long, eerie shadows on the forest floor. Wisps of mist snaked through the undergrowth, adding an ethereal touch to the scene. As they made their way through the dense forest, Christine's voice quivered with a mix of excitement and trepidation.
Dr. Strange, I've seen it. The book we need to reverse the spell that binds us. The Sorcerer Supreme of this universe possesses it.
Dr. Strange's eyes widened with hope.
Are you certain, Christine? If such a book exists, it could be the key to our freedom.
Christine nodded, her eyes filled with determination.
I glimpsed it when I was born, a fleeting vision of a powerful tome that could rewrite our fate. But beware, Dr. Strange. This universe despises you. Reclaiming that book will not be an easy task.
Just as their conversation reached its climax, a group of formidable mystical arts users emerged from the shadows, surrounding them. Their robes billowed ominously as they chanted incantations, their intentions clear. A desperate battle was about to unfold. With a swift motion, Doctor Strange summoned a shield of mystical energy, enveloping himself and Christine within its protective embrace. Bolts of magic collided against the barrier, sizzling and fizzling into nothingness. Christine, though without any combat ability or magic, clung to Doctor Strange's side, attempting to lend him support in any way she could. Spell clashed with spell, and the air pulsated with raw power. In a breathtaking display of magic, Doctor Strange unleashed a torrent of astral projections, overwhelming his foes with their sheer numbers. As the dust settled, the assailants lay defeated, their forms vanishing into ethereal wisps. Breathing heavily, Doctor Strange turned to Christine, a mixture of relief and concern etched across his face.
Are you all right?
He asked, his voice laced with genuine worry. Christine smiled, her eyes sparkling.
Thanks to you, we prevailed. Thank you, Strange.
Doctor Strange's expression turned somber, his voice filled with a grave reminder.
Don't thank me, Christine. Remember, if you die, I die.
The moonlit forest whispered secrets to the night, its towering trees standing sentinel over a world teeming with magic. Doctor Strange and Christine, weary from their perilous journey, sought solace amidst the ancient trunks. As the gentle hush of the forest embraced them, Doctor Strange succumbed to exhaustion, his eyes fluttering closed in a slumber of weariness. Christine, ever watchful and contemplative, sat beside him, her thoughts drifting to the man whose life was entwined with hers. She gazed upon Doctor Strange, his features relaxed in sleep, his brow free from the weight of the burdens he carried. He was a good person, she knew, and she couldn't help but feel the heaviness of the tether that bound him to this alternate universe, to her. It pained her to know that her existence held him back from his true purpose, his own reality. A flicker of determination sparked in Christine's eyes as she made her decision. She couldn't bear to see him trapped any longer. Slowly, she reached out, her trembling hand gravitating toward the bangle that adorned Doctor Strange's wrist. The bangle that connected them, but also shackled them both. Just as her fingers brushed against the cool metal, Doctor Strange stirred from his slumber, his keen senses alerting him to the imminent danger. His eyes snapped open, locking onto Christine's desperate actions.
What are you doing?
He exclaimed, his voice laced with urgency and concern. His mind raced, realizing the consequences of her actions. Christine's voice quivered as she replied.
I'm sorry, but I can't bear to hold you back any longer. I need to set you free.
With trembling determination, she continued to remove the bangle, its golden glow fading as it left Doctor Strange's wrist. As the bangle separated from its rightful place, a palpable change overcame Christine. The threads of her being started to unravel, fragments of her form falling away like particles of stardust. Yet, despite the pain etched across her face, she held her suffering in silence. Astonishingly, Doctor Strange remained unscathed. In that moment, Christine became the key to his freedom, the one person who could sever the tether and release him from the sorcerer's clutches. Witnessing the devastating toll her actions took upon her, Doctor Strange's voice hardened, his eyes filled with a mix of anguish and resolve.
Put it back on,
he commanded, his tone brooking no argument. Confusion and fear clouded Christine's eyes as she hesitated, unsure of what to do.
Put it back on,
he repeated, the urgency and desperation seeping into every syllable. Feeling her own essence slip away, Christine complied, the bangle finding its rightful place on Doctor Strange's wrist once more. As their connection was re-established, an agonizing cry escaped Dr. Strange's lips, his body mirroring the pain that Christine had endured. Slowly, the disintegrating form of Christine began to reverse its course. Piece by piece, she reformed, her scattered fragments reassembling like a shattered mosaic made whole once more. Though her body trembled with the aftershocks of the ordeal, she returned to her previous state, her existence no longer hanging by a fragile thread. As their shared torment subsided, Christine's eyes met Dr. Strange's, her gratitude and understanding shining within their depths. They both knew that their fates were intertwined, forever bound by a curse and a profound connection. With a weary smile, Dr. Strange reached out to cup Christine's cheek, his touch conveying a multitude of unspoken words. Together, they remained seated beneath the ancient trees, their destinies fused inextricably, their journey through the mystic realms far from over. The morning sun bathed the ancient landscape in a warm glow as Dr. Strange and Christine stood atop a grassy hill overlooking the Sorcerer Supreme's sanctuary. The air crackled with a hint of magic, and the distant sound of chanting echoed through the mystical forest that surrounded them. Dr. Strange gazed intently at the sanctuary, his eyes glowing with arcane energy as he tapped into his vast knowledge of the mystical arts. With a wave of his hand, he conjured a shimmering portal that provided a glimpse into the hidden depths of the Sorcerer Supreme's abode. Through the portal, Dr. Strange's mind wandered into the Library of Knowledge, where towering shelves overflowed with ancient tomes and arcane artifacts. The Sorcerer Supreme himself stood at a massive desk, engrossed in deciphering a cryptic incantation. As Dr. Strange delved into his observations, Christine's curiosity got the better of her.
What is Christine like in your universe?
She asked, her voice tinged with both innocence and concern. Dr. Strange's gaze shifted from the portal to Christine, a mixture of fondness and sorrow crossing his face.
In my universe, Christine was a remarkable woman.
He began, his voice tinged with a touch of melancholy.
She was strong-willed, compassionate, and fiercely intelligent. We shared a bond, though circumstances pulled us apart. She's now happily married to someone else.
Christine's eyes filled with sympathy as she reached out to grasp Dr. Strange's hand.
I'm sorry.
She whispered softly, the weight of their entwined destinies resting heavily on her shoulders. Dr. Strange shook off his wistful thoughts and turned his attention back to the task at hand.
Now, let me explain our plan.
He said, his voice resolute.
We must sneak into the sanctuary, locate the spell we need, and make our escape before anyone notices. We have to be swift and careful.
Christine nodded, determination shining in her eyes.
I may not possess combat abilities or magic, but I'll do my best to be helpful.
She declared, her voice filled with unwavering resolve. Together, they forged their plan, the intricate details woven between their whispered voices. Dr. Strange outlined the layout of the sanctuary and the various obstacles they might encounter, while Christine listened intently, committing every word to memory. As they descended the hill and made their way toward the sanctuary, the forest seemed to come alive around them. Shafts of sunlight filtered through the dense canopy above, casting a magical aura over the ancient trees. The ground beneath their feet hummed with the energy of unseen forces. Reaching the entrance of the sanctuary, Dr. Strange paused, scanning the area for any signs of surveillance. Satisfied that they were undetected, he ushered Christine inside, moving swiftly and soundlessly through the labyrinthine corridors. In the dimly lit chambers, they encountered animated stone guardians and traps triggered by arcane symbols. Christine, though lacking combat skills, used her quick thinking and resourcefulness to aid Dr. Strange at every turn, disarming traps and providing insights. Finally, they reached the inner sanctum, where the Sorcerer Supreme kept his most valuable possessions. The air crackled with an almost tangible aura of power, and shelves upon shelves of ancient grimoires and relics lined the chamber. Dr. Strange's eyes scanned the shelves, his fingers tracing the spines of countless books. With a surge of excitement, he spotted the spell they sought, a glowing parchment tucked away among the countless others. Just as Dr. Strange reached out to grab the spell, a chilling voice reverberated through the room. "Did you really think you could steal from me?" the Sorcerer Supreme hissed. Startled, Dr. Strange and Christine whirled around to face their formidable foe. Standing before them was a figure cloaked in shadow, his eyes glowing with an ominous purple hue. It was the very sorcerer who held dominion over this realm, their plans now unraveling before their eyes. The Sorcerer Supreme sneered, relishing the chance to reveal his cunning. "You see, Dr. Strange, I had foreseen your treachery." I warned the other you, the one who dared to delve into forbidden magic. I told him the cloning spell was futile, that its tethering consequences would be impossible to undo. A malicious smile played upon his lips. Dr. Strange's heart sank as the realization dawned upon him. The sorcerer had sabotaged his alternate self, ensuring the tethering curse would remain inescapable. Panic surged through his veins, for he knew that if harm befell Christine, his own life would be snuffed out in an instant. With a flick of his wrist, the Sorcerer Supreme unleashed a wave of dark magic, ensnaring Christine in its grip. She writhed in pain, and each agonized movement sent searing jolts coursing through Dr. Strange's body, a cruel reminder of their intertwined fates. Desperation burned in Christine's eyes as she strained against the Sorcerer's hold. Though devoid of combat ability or magic, her determination to help her companion pushed her beyond her limits. Through gritted teeth, she mustered all her strength and broke free, defying the torment that ravaged her very being. Astonished by Christine's unexpected burst of resilience, the Sorcerer Supreme faltered, stumbling backward. Seizing the opportunity, Dr. Strange unleashed his own magic, weaving intricate spells with fervent determination. The room crackled with energy as ethereal forces clashed in a spectacular display of power. In a climactic surge of magic, Dr. Strange unleashed a torrential wave of energy, overwhelming the Sorcerer Supreme. The villainous sorcerer was thrown off his feet, his own dark powers unable to contend with the sheer force of Strange's mastery. As the dust settled, the chamber fell into a tense silence. Dr. Strange approached Christine, his eyes brimming with relief and gratitude. Together, they had triumphed over seemingly insurmountable odds, their bond now forged through a shared journey of pain and resilience. Embracing their hard-won victory, Dr. Strange gingerly touched Christine's shoulder, their connection palpable yet tinged with lingering traces of pain. Their tethered lives had tested them beyond measure, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond, one that defied the very nature of their existence. And as they stood amid the remnants of their battle, their eyes met, and an unspoken understanding passed between them.
It's time for me to return to my world, Christine.
He spoke softly, his voice carrying a weight of decision.
Come with me.
Christine nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of understanding and sadness.
I agree, Stephen. It's where you truly belong.
As Dr. Strange began casting the spell to transport them back to his universe, a sudden surge of pain coursed through Christine's body. She cried out, causing Dr. Strange to halt his incantation. His eyes widened in realization, and a sense of anguish washed over him.
I can't go.
He whispered, his voice laden with regret.
While we are in the void between worlds, the life link between us will be broken, and you.
Christine wrapped her arms around Dr. Strange to embrace him one last time. Dr. Strange's hands trembled as he desperately searched for a solution. He couldn't send Christine to his universe first, for that would sever their life link as well. The predicament was cruel and seemingly insurmountable. Tears welled up in Christine's eyes, but her resolve remained unyielding.
I know what I have to do.
She said softly, her voice filled with a mixture of acceptance and bravery. Dr. Strange's heart clenched, and he protested.
No, Christine, I won't allow it. I can't bear to lose you.
A gentle smile graced Christine's face as she placed her hand on top of his, stilling his protests.
You are needed in your universe, Stephen.
She spoke softly.
I can't hold you back from your true calling. Besides, I was never real. Just a clone. A shadow. You deserve more.
Tears welled in Dr. Strange's eyes as he shook his head, unable to fully accept her words.
You were real to me, Christine. Every moment we spent together, every word we shared, you were real.
With a heavy heart, Christine removed the bangle from his wrist, the symbol of their unbreakable connection. As she did, her body began to slowly fade into shimmering dust, carried away on a gentle breeze. Her eyes never left Dr. Strange's, filled with a deep love and understanding. Dr. Strange's grip tightened around the bangle, his knuckles turning white.
You ended up being so much like the real Christine.
He managed to say through the tears.
So much more than I ever imagined.
Christine's voice echoed softly as she faded away, her presence dissipating like a whisper.
The real Christine became that way thanks to you, Stephen. That's how I became more like her than ever before.
As Christine slowly dissipated into a cascade of shimmering particles, her last words hung in the air, a bittersweet melody.
Thank you.
she murmured, her voice carried by a gentle breeze, before vanishing completely. As Christine fully turned to dust and was carried away, her bangle fell to the ground, a symbol of their shared journey. Dr. Strange gently picked it up, clutching it tightly in his hand. With a heavy heart, he continued his spell, returning to his universe, forever carrying Christine's memory with him. The next day, Dr. Strange stood on the rooftop, his cape billowing in the gentle breeze. He gazed down at the bustling city below, his eyes scanning the streets until they fell upon Christine. A bittersweet feeling washed over him as he watched her approach her usual lunch spot. His mind drifted back to that fateful day when he had encountered the clone of Christine. Lost in his thoughts, Dr. Strange mused about their connection. Her final words in that other universe echoed in his mind.
Thank you.
The words were filled with gratitude and a touch of sadness.
My pleasure.
He whispered quietly.
It always was.
His gaze never faltered as he continued to observe Christine until she disappeared from view. With a heavy heart, he turned away, leaving behind one of the mystical bangles on the rooftop. The other bangle remained clenched tightly in his hand, a symbol of their unbreakable bond.